With the offseason quickly approaching, and the upcoming cap situation that will force teams to make the tough decisions is setting us up for a potentially exciting pause in between seasons. Therefore, in this video, I'm going to go over a few players that could potentially find themselves playing in completely different cities sooner rather than later. And with that, here are 4 NHL players that could very well be traded before next season. Following a disappointing exit from the qualifiers, it became painfully clear that the Jets were in desperate need of some more depth in the lineup. Following the strange circumstances of Dustin Byfuglien walking away from Winnipeg, and the loss of Jacob Trouba still being felt on the back end, the Jets are going to be looking for a way to remedy the roster. One way they could definitely shake things up is moving their previous second overall selection in Patrik Laine. Laine, whose contract is set to expire this offseason, will ultimately be an RFA if he's not moved prior to. The 22-year-old has been a stable offensive force for his team for most of his time spent in Manitoba. Even still, the forward, who may not have reached his prime offensively yet, is often seen as having more to give. And one way to potentially reach his full potential would be to embrace a change of scenery. One team that would definitely make sense for the Finnish forward to join is the New Jersey Devils, as it's no secret that the team is looking to make drastic changes after an extremely disappointing season. One way to possibly please both parties would be to give Laine up in exchange for what they need the most, and what the Devils probably want rid of: PK Subban and his contract. But it would be very difficult to convince the Jets to take on 100% of the bloated deal. Therefore, a 50% retention, Devils giving up a first rounder, Jets giving up a second, and a potential trade would be in the making. Another GM that will definitely be manning the phones this offseason is Leafs general manager Kyle Dubas, as similarly to the Penguins, the Leafs on paper seemingly had the star power to win the qualifiers and advance to the playoffs. But as we all know, despite this, Toronto yet again was unsuccessful after falling to the Columbus Blue Jackets in a 5-game series. The biggest hole within the roster for Dubas to fix isn't up front, as the top-heavy team with 3 8-digit contracts currently on its books, belonging to forwards, has struggled immensely on the blue line. Nylander, who had a bounce-back season last campaign, has definitely upped his value on the market. And while he may have been on the second line in Toronto, the winger would be the perfect addition for a team looking to bolster its first line. And for the Florida Panthers, the Swede would be the perfect right wing for Captain Alexander Barkov to play with up front. The Leafs could potentially in turn try and land Aaron Ekblad, who would be expensive without such a bargaining chip to play with. Add in Alexander Kerfoot or their first-round pick, and both teams would benefit immensely, as Florida is also in need of a real shakeup themselves. After Max Domi was sent to Quebec, the change seemed to suit the forward during his debut season with the Habs, as he had the best season of his career thus far, while recording 72 points in a full season's play, as Domi seemed to capitalize on the breakaway while utilizing his speed on the rush. But as Montreal's organization began to evolve, so did Domi's position, drastically, as the longtime center went to playing on the wing for the majority of last season. This paired with the fact that the previous first liner in Arizona found himself on the 4th line during the qualifiers. Therefore, it definitely speaks for itself, and indicates that his days with the Canadiens are probably numbered, as the Habs have been very successful in integrating prospects and young talent up front for offense. This unfortunately leaves Domi largely not needed, as cheaper younger options have assumed the second and third center positions. One team that's in desperate need of depth down the middle is Minnesota. With Captain Mikko Koivu's retirement a possibility and Alex Galchenyuk's future uncertain, the Wild could definitely use Domi at center. With Montreal's need lying largely on the back end, sliding in Matt Dumba behind Shea Weber would be a huge upgrade for the team. Dumba, although, wouldn't come cheap. Therefore, if Montreal could sweeten the deal, it could be extremely beneficial for both sides involved. As Robin Lehner made his way to Sin City, his role in the crease was initially to be taking some of the workload off Marc-Andre Fleury's shoulders. as the 35-year-old, during the last full 82-game season, started in 61 contests for the Knights. But following the Lehner acquisition, it became increasingly apparent throughout this postseason that the Swedish stopper has been the favorite going in. With Lehner being the younger option that happens to be hitting free agency shortly, The Knights could look to move Fleury, as his cap hit of $7 million for the next 2 seasons will significantly thwart the chances of keeping another capable starter on the roster financially. Therefore, it only makes sense for Vegas to try and seek out a potential suitor for the veteran netminder. Fleury, who is likely in the final years of his career, wouldn't be an attractive option for a team looking to rebuild. One team that will most certainly be in need of some mentorship next season from a backup is the Pittsburgh Penguins, as Pittsburgh GM Jim Rutherford has already indicated that he will have to be moving either Matt Murray or Tristan Jarry. Therefore, it would only make sense for the team to pursue a veteran with some experience if Jarry is the one who remains. While the team will be looking for a major retool in the Steel City this offseason, Rutherford has indicated that most players are completely expendable. If the right deal comes along and Vegas agrees to retain some of Fleury's salary, it could very well be a poetic homecoming for the Flower upon next season.